All right, so I've gotten a lot of questions from, past customers and friends and buddies and people on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all that on how I sharpen my knives. So I thought I would just do a quick little video, show you how I do it. Doesn't require anything fancy or expensive. I have this Kershaw 1050 here that I need to sharpen up. It's, it's dull. It's sharp considering, if not sharp considering, but sharp compared to most other people. But the trick is to catch your knife before it gets super dull. If it gets super dull, you still use the same steps to sharpen it. It just takes longer. So I will walk you through this real quick, show you how I do it. I'll show you what I use first. First up, nothing fancy. I use one of these Easy Lap stones. It's a fine 600 grit on one side, and they call it super fine, 1200 grit on the other. I wouldn't really call those fine and super fine. I'd kind of call the 600 kind of a medium and the 1200 a fine. But when you first get it, you'll feel the 600 grit side, and you'll swear that you just bought yourself a nail file. They're pretty coarse, but after you use them a little bit, the grit breaks down, and it feels a little bit finer than 600. But we'll start with the 6, then just touch it up with the 12, and go from there. They can be used wet or dry. I'm going to do these ones dry, and use secret weapon. Some duct tape here, holds it in place. We'll run it back and forth. Now, I think, at least growing up, it was taught to me that when you sharpen by slicing into the stone, like you're slicing a thin slice off of it. Now, me personally, I think that that's incorrect. I know that there's probably a lot of people out there yelling at the screen right now saying they don't know what I'm talking about, which is probably true, but it works really good this way for what I do, and the results are fantastic. So, the proof is in the pudding. So, not this pudding, but I'll show you how I do it. The way I do it is I trail the edge, in the sense of, basically what I'm trying to come up with here is I'm trying to develop a burr on the edge. I think the reason why they say to go the other direction is because it mitigates that burr, and if that's all you were doing was using a stone, then I could see that being advantageous. But me, on the other hand, I want that burr. I want as big and thin of a burr as I can get on the edge, because usually the thinner, the longer that burr is, the longer it's going to take to strop it off. The longer it takes to strop it off, the sharper your knife will be, generally speaking, according to me, which doesn't really say much. But so, back and forth, get yourself this nice edge here. I know there's a lot of people out there that feel that they need to sharpen and step their way up to a bajillion grit, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I just don't have the time to do that. And for general around the world sharpness needs, 600 to 1200 grit is more than plenty. Plus, by using a coarser stone, you develop a sort of micro serrated edge, which might not look as impressive as a bajillion grit edge when it comes to like slicing newspaper and things like that. But you use one of these coarser grit finished edges on like meat, tomatoes, that kind of stuff, and it's pretty impressive then. So, back and forth, try to develop that edge. what you want to do, so say coming back this direction, you want to feel a burr on this side. You want to be able to feel the edge. If you compare it to this side, you can't feel anything. This side you want to feel like it's kind of curled over, which it started to do that. A little bit more back down here. Again, this edge has been, this edge has been, but this knife has been sharpened so much that I have moved this edge bevel back so far from where it originally started. I mean, that's where it started. That's where it's at now. So there we go. We got a burr all the way along. Take it back this way a couple times. Make sure the burr is rolled over. Yep. We'll flip it. Don't mind the duct tape and electrical tape and a little piece of wood. I use that as a spacer to assist me in guiding this when I sharpen some of the other knives I do. Gives me kind of a safe edge so I don't run into the guard or anything like that. Especially I use this on when I do Viking sacks, because it doesn't have a plunge cut. So you can run the edge of the stone right into the guard. So that's what that's used for. So give it a few of these on this side. Alright. Yeah, we're good. Now, insert the other secret weapon. Piece of leather, strip of metal, some glue between the two, and you have yourself a strop. Green chrome buffing compound. Just throw yourself on a little bit. This doesn't really need it. It's been loaded up and used quite a bit, so I'm just showing you how I do it. You don't want to just like gob it on, put a little bit on, strop it in, a little bit on, strop it in. Basically what you're wanting to do is just create a mildly abrasive surface, and all you're doing is using that to kind of wear away the little burr that you've created, and it kind of polishes the teeth of that edge that you've got. So back and forth, same motion as when you were sharpening. Great thing about stropping is you can strop just about anything. I did a kitchen knife set for a lady just the other day. She wanted me to sharpen a bread knife, and I was able to strop all those little serrations on this strop. So it's pretty handy. If you don't have one of these, I'd highly recommend getting one, or making one for that matter, because I'm sure someone charges an arm and a leg for one of these. You don't have to use a piece of metal. It could be a piece of wood, piece of plywood, piece of anything, just to keep the leather straight. What this is doing is kind of polishing away that little burr and kind of polishing the edge just a tiny bit, getting down into the grit scratches from the sharpening. And that's why I say that it doesn't really matter, to an extent, what grit you use to sharpen your knife. There's no reason, when it's done properly, you cannot get it to shave hair. Now, I'm not saying that you can sharpen the edge of your knife with a 36 grit belt or the side of a sidewalk and get it to shave by just stropping it, but within reason, I would say from, say, 200 grit and up, with a strop, you should be able to get this thing to shave hair. So you don't need 1,000 stones all the way from 100 grit all the way up to 8,000. Just need a couple and a strop. All right, let's see how she looks. Feels pretty good. Now you can strop too much. You can wear away the edge, and you would in fact make it duller if you strop too much. If you've gone that part, if you've stropped it too much and you've gotten to that point, just grab your stone and touch it up again. All right, let's see how she looks. Plenty sharp. By the time this is done, I'm gonna be bald. So we'll just throw that on the floor. Wife can vacuum that up later. So there you have it. All you need, dull knife, a stone. Now, I'm not saying this is the best stone out there. It's just the one that I was able to find locally, and I've used it for years and years, and it works super good. 600 on one side, 1,200 on the other. I don't know, I think they're like 40 or 50 bucks. Get yourself a piece of leather, glue it to something. I use that spray adhesive by 3M just to stick it down, and some green chrome polishing compound, buffing compound, and a roll of duct tape, because duct tape solves everything. So I hope that helps, and if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks. Bye.